What if you played Virtua Fighter 5 FS? Have you considered playing Virtua Fighter again? We put it in every game, but what if you played the same Virtua Fighter again? I have said before though that I am kind of amazed these games have Virtua Fighter in them, specifically Virtua Fighter 5, because that's not a classic game. That's not a criticism of the game's quality. Anyway, one last Gyudon is what I was trying to say earlier. What I mean is that Virtua Fighter 5 is a game I owned on the Xbox 360. Like, the last game in this series, that Yakuza 5, was from the same console generation as Virtua Fighter, as Virtua Fighter 5. So having it be a pack-in is kind of insane. Like, they're Sega, so I don't think that the rights thing is insane. If you want to pack a game inside of a game, whatever, have fun. What I can't help but think of, like, is, like, how much of the file size of this video game I'm playing is Virtua Fighter 5? Because, like, you can just pop Space Harrier into your video game and be like, yeah, whatever. Don't even think about it. No one's complaining about their Steam download size because the video game that they have happens to contain Space Harrier in addition to the game that they bought. But once you are adding Virtua Fighter, I'm like, that's not small, right? I don't know. It's got to be at least a gig, right? But I think games back then were about 6 gigs on the Xbox 360. That's a chunky increase to the entire file size of the game for one arcade game in the corner that you probably will never play. It's just like, huh. Things that make me go, huh. And that's the level of depth of that thought.
兄貴、もうカムロ町に思い残したことはありませんの。ほいじゃったら最後の蹴りつけに行けますんで。ああ、行こう。
Right, I'm still not 1000% sure if she's dead or not.
Onomichi 人外町本社で今日午後岩見平蔵会長の車窓が営まれました。超大和級とされる謎の戦艦が浮上後、十分な説明のないまま拳銃自殺を遂げた岩見会長ですが
Hang on a minute. I'm so confused by this guy. Okay, one, we've zipped and zapped back and forth multiple times in the same funeral suits, so that has to be rank by now. Like, I don't think we had time to take them out dry cleaning because you can't just pop them in the wash. So our clothes are just gross at this point. But Akiyama just casually pivots into nice suits multiple times in this game. He switches back into his normal costume for the middle chunk of the game. And then he switches into his funeral suit, but it's like a black Akiyama suit. Like he doesn't wear a tie and he won't button up a shirt still. So he's got another suit that's Akiyama style. It wasn't like from the other guys. It specifically didn't match the other suits. Everybody else had matching suits with some deviations, like whether or not they were tucked in or whether or not they were buttoned up. But Akiyama had a different suit. So he also had a funeral suit to go with his Akiyama suit. And they're somewhere. But he also just keeps pivoting back to being in this homeless encampment where he dresses like this. Not even just like regular, like I don't know I don't know how to process Akiyama in this game. Like, he clearly is not actually penniless and not actually without resources, and is it necessary for his disguise to act like this? Even though he's hiding in this room anyway? Can't he hide in this room while also not, like, being covered in dirt and mud or something? Can he just have normal streetwear that's not filthy? He's got like a weirdly kind of nice house in here. Like, it's perfectly sturdy looking for what it is. It's like a nice little weirdly well constructed shack, and he's got cable and light, like, but he's maintaining the ruse of like looking like this. And I'm like, if I remember correctly, the homeless people in 0 or 1 or whatever, back when that's what Kamurocho Hills was like, lived in like tents and stuff. I don't think they lived in like this, like, strangely, like, I don't even know. It's like, it looks like it was made with like carpentry and stuff. It's like shockingly high quality. I don't know if this is, I have no idea if this is like a more normal or like experienced and at least existing like kind of homeless shelter that exists in Japan or anything. I don't know if anything about what I'm looking at is based on reality. I don't know. Because yeah, maybe if you had homelessness that was a little more entrenched and had a little more permanence to it, they might have better dwellings as opposed to like fucking United States nightmare stuff where people like we're just gonna grab a fireman's hose and blast away this homeless encampment, you better leave, and that kind of nightmare. So I don't know. All I know is I'm deeply confused by Akiyama in every single video game. It makes me want to go back and replay all of his storylines just to write a video essay about how fucking weird this character is. And he's such a background character in this one that I've just like probably glanced over details and forgotten things, but it's just so strange. Like I'm pretty sure he's in hiding from what's happened, but his costume is just really goofy. I'm just like, I don't know, man. You can't keep, it's hard to take you seriously when you keep whipping out another suit every 5 minutes.
岩見造船がこの難局をどう乗り越えるか、市の後継者である岩見恒夫社長の今後の動向が注目されます。
大したもんですな。お待ちしてました。二代目クルスタケル襲名のいい余興になります。
すぐに三代目が必要になる。
わしは染谷優が嫌いじゃなかったんですがの。あの美人ママもかわいそうなことしたと思うとる。
腰ミス。
広島のこの土地であんたに勝ち目はありませんよ、桐生さん。
勝ち負けに来てるんじゃねえ。お前らさえこの世から消えてなくなりゃ全部ケリがつく。
わしら死にに来とるんじゃ。
踊れる！かかってくんならそん格好で来いや！行くぜ！
Kanji. Is this spelled the same way as like the term for like their language writing style? Ow. Ow! Oh, I wanted to hit the boss with him. But you can't really control it. Oh, I did! Yay! Haha, free hit. You won't let me grab you, but I can grab somebody else near you and just get a free hit that way. Okay, this crowd needs to be clear out. There we go. Extremely goofy way of fighting. Nope, that guy's on the ground. How long has he been in there? Been in there? I'm a little afraid to focus on anyone because the boss will just run up to me and add himself to the fray. So it's best to kind of keep crowd controlling them. The fact that if I knock somebody into someone, they take increased damage because I have collateral damage is a nice thing to have. Ah, that punch wasn't enough. You guys are actually getting health bars now? Fuck. I'm fine. That was a terribly spaced attack on my part. There we go. Alright, back to one-on-one. Just kidding. 2-on-1. Fuck you. Speaking of... neck chop. Let's gang up on this asshole that murdered people. I don't know if they murdered her or not, but just bad guy in general. You can tell because they gave him the evil guy face. Arr, I'm a bad guy face. Punch! All those people aren't here, I beat them. Oh, he's got a knife now. No! We're doing this again? Y'all, I already beat him. Oh, he's back. It's the game's first ever second health bar. It does exist. Goy. Ow. Stop it. Ow. I don't know the exact rules for the knife. Seizing blade. Parry an attack from an enemy wielding a blade, then seize the weapon to perform a devastating attack. He'll parry. Okay, so then parry is based on left bumper right before the attack lands. Let's see if I can get that to work. So these are pretty telegraphed, aren't they? Ow! Or he'll do that. The fuck? I don't think this isn't parry. This is just the normal knife one, I think. He's got a special counter because you can't actually take the knife from him. I don't know if I can parry knife. Well, that other thing said parry knife. Ow. I'm about to die. Ah. Haha. Nope, that didn't work. Tiger drop confuses me. One of the weirdest things about Tiger Drop is that sometimes you can do it mid-combo when they've already hit you. Wait, you're going for a co-op hit now? Did he just give me more experience than I'm on? That's fucked up.
So ろそろ終わりにするか、菅井。
ええ。
はるか。坊ちゃんもなんでじゃ。
本庄という東京の刑事を知っているか？
何？
今日の昼、その本庄に警察上層部からある特命が下されたんだよ。伊達という刑事を見張り、そいつが違法に監禁している赤ん坊とその母親を救出するようにと。
本庄？なんでここ？
I actually don't remember Hanjo.
伊達さん、あなたこそなんでこんな真似をしたんです？
どういうことだ？誰の命令でここに？
伊達さん、これは
監禁の現行犯です。無駄な抵抗はしないでください。
違うぞ本庄。こいつは遥たちを狙う連中の差し金だ。警察の上層部に誰かが手を回してる。
私への命令は正規の手続きで下されているんです。連れて行け。
お前ら。
Wait, why even do that? What the fuck? Okay, so yeah, Hanjo was from like chapter 2 or something, like the beginning of the game so long ago. Why shoot them? Including the guy that was working with them? I guess it's because they need to run off with her and he thinks he's coming with them and that's a problem. But I'm just like, why all the subterfuge if you're just gonna shoot the people that are in the room anyway? Then you could just walk in and then, like, what? Well, the deception seems like way too much work.
Onna to gakiを死なせたくなきゃ指一本動かすな。
貴様。
おっと。4代目。あんたは東上会と陽明連合会をいっぺんに敵に回したんだ。なめてんのだ。てめえも六代目。俺を甘く見やがって。死ねや。
Well, shit.
どけ、すがい。あんたじゃ殴り殺すのに時間がかかる。
I know he doesn't want to risk Haruka's life, obviously, but from their perspective, these guys don't honor this kind of deal. They're just going to kill her anyway. From their perspective, I'm still not sure if that woman's dead or not, but they think she is. It's kind of a sad, like, kind of a bummer of an ending to Haruka's through line narratively. Is that she ultimately is just this huge problem for Kiryu that kind of ruins his life and, like, is actively just this baggage that weighs him down and that he has to go through all this for because she's ultimately just damseled at the end. It's like, that's kind of a rough ending for that through line of all the things that have happened between them and all the sacrifices that have been happened and all the secrecy and assumed identities and changes that he's gone through to try to, like he became an estranged taxi driver to protect her. He went to jail to protect her. She revealed their relationship to be closer to him, but they both just fucking scatter the winds and don't interact for 3 years. And now ultimately she just wakes up from a coma. She's like almost fridged for the entire game as an incentive for Kiryu's motivation. and now she's being damseled to actively hinder him, and it's just like, it's kind of a bummer. This is where she ultimately went. She went from the game where she had the most agency and had the most going on, and even if it was kind of a weird side story, to like having zero agency because she made a bunch of bad decisions or strange decisions off camera between games, and now she just stands around being in a coma or being a hostage the entire game, and it's like, huh, was this what we always had planned? Did you plan the saga out and this is where you want it to end? Because it's almost like the opposite of an arc by the end.
父は俺の本質を見誤っていたよ。俺にはあの人を超える野心と抑えきれねえ力への渇きがあった。日の当たる道を歩かせようって親心がかえってあだになった。押さえつけられりゃ反発するのが子供ってやつじゃねえか。裏社会でこそ生きるこの俺の才能に親父は気づいていたはずなのにな。
Dude, Kiryu doesn't care about your dad.
伝説の国土クルスタケルの名は俺が名乗るべき名だ。10数える前に立て。出なきゃ女を殺す。
おじさん。
おっと、無理かな。
Is it Akiyama? It's Yuta.
踊れはこっちじゃ。
岩見さん、兄貴、頭、はるかとハルトは俺らが守ります。
抜け駆けしたんは後でみっちり説教したるけ。あんたら立てや。立ってつかさい、兄貴。
兄貴、立て。
この死に損ないが。
お前らが誰に喧嘩売ったか、これからたっぷり思い知らせてやるぜ。
ふざけるな。
岩見さん、
踊れの相手はこっちじゃ。
おじさん。
I'm very amused by the fact that there's an entire crowd of random Yakuza everywhere that are currently watching these guys punch their boss. Maybe it's commentary.
もう思い残すことは何もねえ。俺と一緒に地獄まで付き合ってもらうぜ、岩見の坊ちゃん。
貴様、
お前らだけは生かしちゃおけねえ。全部ここで終わらしてやる。
This guy definitely doesn't get to act tough when his way of proving himself to be so cool was to just make it so his opponent literally can't respond. This old man's gonna get his ass beat so bad. You're losing to the tutorial guy. It's so lame. Well, he's not doing great so far. Head punch. The punch for the head. You don't try to sentai me. Uh-oh. That didn't give me any energy. Whoops. Oh, that parry didn't work. Ah, get off me! No, stop it! Stop it! I just healed that health, you punk. Good. Ow, my health bar. Ow, my health bar. I think I fucked up. I think that was my chance to do the actually good heat action that you do in that mode. Whoop. Haha. Ha 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 ha. Why doesn't Tiger drop? Damn, he flinched. He didn't even flinch when that went down. That was a bad hit. Stop grabbing me. No. No. Tiger drop. Wow, he's way more experienced. I was even going to suggest before that Amon should give you 1,000 of everything, so at least you get to buy something. You don't even have as many health bars as your hitman? Or maybe he's not done. You all did not just fucking drop a guy with a gun again. Every fucking game. How does every game end with a guy on the ground with a gun? Why don't they ever learn to fear guns more? You miss again? Oh no! If only anyone stopped the gunman instead of jumping in front of the bullets. No one was even nearby. Oh. They definitely foreshadowed Kiryu dying. I almost wonder if they're trying to like set up Yuta as the new protagonist and then just didn't follow through with that. It has next generation feels. Haruka. Haruto wa bushi da na. 無事です。大丈夫です、兄貴。あいつらを頼むぞ、ユタ。しっかりしてくださいよ、兄貴。くそ。よくも桐生の兄貴を。He still has the fucking gun, I swear to God.
短い夢だったか。
It's a metaphor for the franchise.
救急車急いでくれ。頼むよ。
おじさん。
よかった。はるか。
そんな満足そうな顔しないでよ。死なないでおじさん。諦めるな。
ユウタとハルトと、幸せにな。
おじさん。おじさん。
Oh, and it just cuts out. It's just done. The game weirdly did the Dragon Age Inquisition thing where after a whole game of build-up, the final mission just lets you warp directly to the final boss fight from the open world. You're like, oh, we're here. Oh, we're doing it now. Okay. And then you just fight. I was startled when we loaded in. He was just instantly at like what's clearly the final boss like chamber with no like level beforehand. We previously did a level when we went up the Millennium Tower, but that wasn't the final fight because they decided to make it this instead. So there's an interrupt there where they put you back in the open world. That makes the pacing strange because it feels like it feels like there should be like a level before the final fight. Majima has a credit in this game? Was he in the intro? I don't even remember Majima being in this game anymore. Serena Mama's in here? Oh, no, Serena's my place. I was thinking of Earth Angel. I was like, I've never met Mama. Where's Earth Angel this whole game? They wouldn't let me in that neighborhood. Huh. Junpei. I'm so traumatized by that name. When I say it's a metaphor of the franchise, I don't mean like the franchise dying. I just mean like, it's funny to me that there's one final old man on his deathbed who just wants Kiryu dead for not even especially good reasons. Fuck you, Kiryu. And that's like the entire motivation for what's happening, and it's like some old man that Kiryu's never even fucking met, because he's like, he wasn't even especially interested in the machinations happening in this narrative. It's just the fact that they happened to all go after Haruka and like innocents and civilians and so on, that it's just like, why are you doing all this? Just leave him alone. If this was just like completely isolated to fucking Yakuza politics, interpersonal conflicts, that he might have not have even had a reason to get involved. He's been trying to leave forever. I think I'm curious to see. I don't have my finger on the pulse of the Yakuza franchise fandom. I just kind of get the feeling that like how well was this game received? I kind of feel like this is not a favorite as far as the series goes on. In fact, it might have even been kind of rough to play right after Zero. I imagine that fan favorites are probably 0 and 2, and maybe one of 4 or 5, because I feel like one of the really bloated, oversized ones would be like the one that people actually like, despite my issues with them. And then I imagine that 3 is controversial, based on the fact that it's the orphanage one, and it's got a different sense of pacing and environment and so on. But I liked 3 quite a bit at the time, except for its ending. To the point where it feels weird how much this game retreads ideas from it 3 games later. 4 games later if you count 0. But I imagine that 6 was like a disappointing ending to the story, and not just because the usual thing where gamers respond really poorly to the father figure action hero dying in games or being defeated or whatever. Let's see, are they going to commit to him even being seemingly dead, or are they going to pull it back immediately again? This is the daughter of the mama.
キヨちゃんはずっとあんたのことを気にかけとったんじゃ。3つの時に別れたんちゃったの。覚えてるんか、母ちゃんのこと。
写真でだけ。でもお父さんがいろいろ話してくれた。
染谷が。
お父さんの仕事のせいでお母さんは出ていくしかなかったって。お父さんはいつも自分が悪いんだって言ってた。
そうか。ほいじゃが、あいつはあんたのことを大事に育てとったんじゃな。のう、キヨちゃん。
Okay, yeah, that seemed obvious. I'm just a bit annoyed because the fucking assassin guy, like, has no discernible, like, even at the time, like, this guy has no discernible motivation to cut the feed while he's killing this woman. And it could have been a weird gender thing of like, we can't kill her on camera. That's too graphic for a woman's death. But no, it's because they're fucking faking it out and she didn't die. I don't know why he did that, but
Masaka, Kiyomi-sanが無事でおったとはの。小清水のやつがかくまっとったんじゃって。
小清水は空砲で清美さんを撃ったんです。彼女を助けようと自分で腹刺した染谷に小清水もなんか感じるもんがあったそうで。
あいつも世が世じゃったらあんなゲスどもに使われる男じゃなかったんじゃ。菅井と岩見の言いなりになっとる自分にええ加減嫌気がさしただけと違うんか。
それでもいいだろう。
it matters a little bit because it's a story about characters and you want to justify why a character makes a particular choice beyond just having a fake out for the sake of it. I could see it being some kind of argument of like, he literally watched this guy fulfill his end of the deal and he literally killed himself to do this, so some sort of sense of like decency, like it's just so cruel to kill her that maybe he wouldn't do something like that or something. But like, I don't know. I don't love when people question the motivation of a character and like, I don't know, it doesn't matter, because it feels a little too much like the writer's hand waving character motivation in a story that's based entirely on that. Just don't say that. Just don't say that line in your narrative because it feels too much like that.
おかげで清美さんは生きてる。
南雲の頭も哀れじゃのう。恋敵は清美さんのために自決した染谷じゃ。どうあがいても勝ち目はないじゃろう。しばらくは広瀬一家の立て直しに専念してもらおう。
Have we ever had confirmation she even wants him as a romantic rival competing for her heart? Because I'm not sure if that's even been the case. If anything, she seems to maybe like the other guy more, the one from the dock. But there's like 3 rivals apparently for her heart. But like one of them's actually someone she was in a relationship with who then killed himself to save her. So I don't know, man. Maybe stop acting like you're entitled to be in this game. It's just really weird to deal with the flesh and blood human being that can make their own choices, and you're not entitled to having an avenue to dating at all. I just don't love it.
後のことを頼むな、田頭。
松永の兄貴も。沖縄に行っても達者でな、言うた。
Okay, this is, I know, I'm nitpicking here, but this is just, it's kind of a janky ending. I just want to point out she's just fucking standing there the whole time. She just revealed that she's alive to the person that's obsessed with her and to her daughter. And you can see her in the background this whole scene, just standing in the doorway staring at them. No one's doing anything. No one's hugging or running or crying or breaking down. She's just standing there staring at them while these people talk. It's such a strange scene.
Haruka-chan. もちろんハルトもじゃ。桐生の兄貴のことは残念じゃった。わしらもまだ信じられん。阿川に強い人が。
でもこの子は大きくなってもきっとおじさんの背中を覚えてると思います。
He won't.
私も絶対に忘れないです。
It's not how babies work.
おじさんとこれまで一緒に歩いてきた道の続きを
When?
今度はこの子と歩かなきゃ。
You guys were like allergic to spending time with each other. I wish Kiryu would check in on Haruka every chapter when he came back to Kamurocho, even though she wasn't going to wake up. Just to show more scenes with them. Even if they're repetitive, it's just like, it's his entire driving motivation. Hey, Doshima's in this game. Oh, Majima's in this game. I guess that's why he's credited in the narrative. I guess that's why.
俺らもお前が出てくんのを待っとったんや。話は聞いとるやろ。陽明連合会と戦争が始まるで。4代目の首取られた言うて若い衆が言い切り立っとる。もう止められん。俺も気持ちはわかるけどな。そしたらどないする？6代目。クルスタケルは死に、息子の岩見恒夫もぶち込まれた。
Man, I missed all these characters. Saijima's not the worst. I just don't want to be him anymore. I don't like having to do a Saijima storyline because they're the most boring ones. But he's fine to have around. And Majima's great. And Doshima's just a through line for the whole game. So having them set up the whole game, you're like, man, Kiryu's just alone with all these non-legacy characters. And this is the end of his story. Where were these people? They're like some of the most important people in his life.
小清水って男は陽明連合会の跡目としてまだ広島を掌握できていない。なんや、今が広島への攻め時や言いたいんか。まあ広島でもうちの報復が来ると思うとるはずや。やるんやったら早い方がええやろ。
What?
俺は
Oh, it's
後
flashback.
悔している。言えた義理ではないが、俺はお前の親のつもりだった。ならば俺は親として伝えなければならないことが山ほどあったはずだ。だが俺はそのことに正面から向き合おうとしてこなかった。そんな俺の前にさまざまな親子の形が次々に現れた。しがらみや掟に縛られ、子供を純粋に愛してやれなかったことにようやく気づいた親。親を超えることで認めてもらえる。
愛してもらえると堅なにまで信じた子供たち。そんな親と子の隔たりが多くの不幸を招くのを目の当たりにした。彼らは親子として向き合っていなかったのだろうか。そうじゃない。彼らは親子の絆を信じていた。それぞれが苦しい定めの中で親子の絆を確かめようと必死で思い悩み続けていたはずだ。ただ彼らには親子として共に過ごす時間が足りていなかった。それだけだ。でもそれはきっと大切なことなんだと思う。だが俺も彼らと同じ鉄を踏んでいた。俺は曲がりなりにも登場界の4代目だった。6代目としてお前を登場界に引き込んだのも俺だ。大悟、俺はお前の親としてそばにいてやる必要はないと思っていた。堂島大吾を男と見込んでお前に全てを託していたと言えば聞こえはいい。だが俺はお前と持つべきだった親と子の時間を捨てて運命と向き合わず消せない過去からも目を背け逃げていただけだ。あの親子たちのことを思うと今の俺には言葉もない。そんな俺がお前や登場界の親だと名乗る資格はない。だからこの手紙を読んだ時、もし俺が死んでいたとしてもどうか親の仇を討とうなんて思わないでほしい。俺の命にそんな価値などない。それが俺の最後の頼みだ、大悟。
親からもらった遺言を俺は守ります。広島と戦争はしない。その上で陽明連合会にはこっちから申し出て五分の杯を交わします。
キルーちゃんに先手を打たれとったわけか。
俺は
Was he?
あの人の手紙に
Was Kiryu known for planning ahead and scheming? I don't know if that was a Kiryu trait. He seemed to just walk directly into wherever the problem was and be like, I have no deeper tact or tactics here. I'm probably going to get shot. We'll see how it goes. And that was his level of planning.
超えるべき親の背中を見た。
立派に親やったやないか、桐生。
I feel like they're trying to capstone it really hard here, but it's just there's like an element of like, bro, this entire organization is overturned and on upheaval again every 2 years, basically, with or without you. I don't think it's very satisfying to frame it like Kiryu's final contribution is this legacy of the Tojo clan, an organization that he both wasn't really in and also tries to kill him pretty much every game. And like that final, and he was always planning ahead and keeping his place in mind. I'm like, even Kiryu talking about this, the thing at like it's his son, and I'm like, the Tojo clan is your son? Like, I guess you've been dragged kicking and screaming back into dealing with it over and over again, but I don't know if it felt like you personally were taking, I don't know, it's odd. Final notes being about his friends and being about his family and being about the orphanage makes more sense to me than the Tojo clan, which is obviously like the main plot of every game, but I don't think it's like, it didn't really feel like it was his driving force necessarily. I bet you feel bad for sitting out the climax and Kiryu dying, Akiyama. At least Date got shot. You were in your homeless encampment chilling, I guess. I thought that didn't he find out that Haruka was kidnapped via the radio or something? Like, you think that would be an indicator that he was going to show up because he could gather that information. So I was surprised when it was just Utah and everyone and not him.
ご挨拶をと思いまして。ああ。聞いたよ。おめでとう。それで、桐生さんのことですけど、伊達さんは本当にあの人の遺体を間違いなく確認したんですか？ああ。そうだ。
Kiryu's not dead, is he? I mean, even beyond the part where we know that he's in future games that I'm pretty sure take place chronologically after this one, I think he's supposed to, maybe not supposed to be dead even now. The way they're doing that, I feel like they were already planting the idea of it being a trick. Because if some of the most important characters that he knew have never seen the body, and they're just going on the word of someone like Date, I'm like, after all this shit, Date would totally help Kiryu fake his own death. Like, obviously.
もう一回だな頑張れさあ来いハルト頑張ってハルト頑張れ頑張れハルトもうちょっとだよ頑張って頑張っておおすごいハルトもうちょい
桐生さんの死を確認したのはあなただけだ。その後遺体は不可解にもすぐ火葬にされちまった。
It's immediately a lie. Okay. Also, only one person can confirm his death. Date wasn't there. All the other people were there. They can confirm his death. Or lack thereof. I mean, I guess he could die later in the hospital, I guess is the implication, but he didn't look like he was going to die later in the hospital.
桐生には遺族がいない。あの日俺が遺体の確認に呼ばれたのは警察関係者の友人としてだ。何度聞いても答えは同じってことですか。いつか本当のことを話せる日が来たらその時は違う答えを聞かせてもらえますよね、伊達さん。
Okay, so they implied it from the jump that Kiryu survived. Actually, it was always implied in the very game where he's supposedly. Okay, no, he's just here.
見えるか、桐生一馬君。
つい今しがた大道寺実先生が亡くなられたと知らせがあってな。
誰だあんたは。
私は政治家としてのイロハを全て大道寺先生に教えられたものだ。今回の尾道の一件、マスコミも世間も大騒ぎだ。選挙も近いというのに全く困ったもんだ。火消しに追われて身が持たんよ。まあ時間が経てば火は消える、そんなものだ。
That's the consequence. Sorry. I'm sure there's other consequences, but given that the core conspiracy of the entire game was about the Yamato, and it being really revealed, them following up on that is basically like, well, all fires burn out, I guess, right? We'll just have to outweigh this controversy. Like, doesn't sound like such a big deal at that point for several people to dedicate their entire lives to, but I guess maybe it sank their company or something, I guess. It's not exactly an earth-shattering revelation for most people, it seems. It seems like they're just going to be over it before long.
だがつまらん火種が大ごとになることもある。超大和型戦艦クルスタケル、岩見恒夫、それらと大道寺先生とのつながりが万が一でも表に出るようなことがあってはならん。そうだろう。もしあんたからマスコミにでも知れれば先生の名前に傷がつく。するとそのことで過去の過ちを詮索される人間が出てくる。彼らの多くは今この国を支える指導者たちだ。わかるかね。
つまりあんたもその一人で、口封じの賄賂ってことか。
いろいろ調べさせてもらったよ。養護施設のことを気にかけているんだって。じゃあ金も必要だろう。私は情け深い人間でね、憔悴している人間に鞭は打たない。それを気持ちよく受け取って全ての秘密を守るという意志、それさえ示してくれればいいんだ。
断る。
何？
全てを秘密にしたいのなら俺の条件を飲め。
なんだと？自分が何を言ってるのか分かっているのか？
Probably not. He's Kiryu.
まず堂島大吾という男を無所から釈放しろ。奴が出てこないと広島で戦争が起こるぞ。これ以上の火種は起こしたくないんだろ
う。そんなこと貴様、自分の立場が分かっているのか？
条件が飲めないんならこの取引はなしだ。秘密に一生怯えて暮らせ。
極道ごときがなめるなよ。命が惜しくないのか？場合によってはお前が大事にしている人間も巻き添えになるぞ。
やってみろ。いろいろ調べたんだろう。俺を本気で怒らせたらどうなるか試してみるか。
なら貴様が秘密を守るという保証はどうしてくれる？
死んでやるよ。
何？
あんたの力でこの病院で発行した死亡届を作ってくれ。そうしたら俺は一生消え続けてやる。最後の条件はそれだ。
何？
ってんだ桐生。聞いていたろ。俺は消える。俺の死体を確認したとあんたがみんなに伝えてくれ。どうなんだ、この男が証人だ。条件を飲むのか。
おい、ふざけるなって。分かってんのかお前。そんな真似したらもう二度とはるかやハルトに会えねえんだぞ。
There's something very funny about the sentence, "This man can be our witness," in response to a deal you never want anyone to know happened.
そうだろうな。
分かった。その条件飲もう。
くそ、なんでお前ばっかりこんな。
はるかやハルト、それに俺の周りにいてくれた多くの仲間たち。
Which is why every single game I contrive a new reason to never be around them and never be there in their lives. That's just eternal. And it just doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't seem sincerely like that's the only way, Kiryu.
あいつらを守れるなら俺は喜んで死んでやるさ。
たく、重いもん背負わせやがって。バカ野郎が。
よし、その調子だハルト。
できるぞ。待つぞ。
Aww.
すげえぞ。やったハルト。
He looks like he's gonna hit his head.
頑張れ。
よし、行けハルト。頑張れハルト。よし、そうだ。
頑張れ。
いいぞ。
Kiryu faked his own death and is incognito, which is why he's dressed as the Dragon of Dojima in public right now. Oh no! Wait, his immediately is gonna get attacked by random passersby and be identified again. I'm so annoyed at Kiryu for finding another reason not to be in his family's life again. It's just, it doesn't feel entirely justified half the time. Especially since all of his enemies are so good at dying that who's even left half the time to target him, and who isn't going to learn the lesson at some point? Even the one antagonistic force here was like, I've done the research on you. It's like, okay, so you know not to fuck with me then. Even Kiryu pointed that out. I'm reminded of how the franchise was very obviously ready to move on from Kiryu as early as like Yakuza 3 or 4. The fact that the entirety of Yakuza 4 is all new characters, and then you only play Kiryu at the very, very end, feels like they were priming us for the idea of getting used to playing as other people. And so it almost feels like they were like chained, like they were stuck. Like, no, we can't seem to get away from this guy. We need to have like a final game for him, essentially, which hasn't even took, because they're gonna have another final game for him, I guess. But going back to him, like, I don't know, it feels weird. It feels weird to me because as much as I like being Kiryu, and he's fun to hang out and be, and it was fun to explore him in the prequel and whatnot, he's only got so much to his character. Like, he's not mischievous, he's not scheming, he's not a planner, he has very simple values. He just wants to be the good guy of the bad guys, essentially, as the Yakuza go. He wants his orphanage and his daughter to be safe, and for the Tojo clan to hopefully end up with some level of like honorable-ish leadership, like the old ways that he thought he was raised to believe in, but honestly we're not sure if they even existed back then. So he's the person who upholds this version of the Yakuza lineage that isn't necessarily ever true. It's just the legend version of them as an organization. Essentially propaganda. He basically believes in like this insane level of like almost patriotism that itself is like a form of myth-making. And he does so by actually living by that ideal and being basically the only person in the entire world that does that. Which makes him a larger-than-life wild character, but also makes him incredibly simple. So it's very hard to keep making more narratives about him, because he's an entirely reactionary character in that he's not proactive in any of the games. He can only just keep responding to the things that happen at him. So every game has to be about why the Tojo clan is pulling him back into the life again, despite him still not being in the organization still. And the narrative has to bend over backwards just to find a reason to even implicate Kiryu again every game. In a way, they did a better job with something like 5, in that the 5 was about all these different characters and this big mess of a narrative and so on, and I don't think it was an amazing thing if I remember correctly, but from Kiryu's perspective, he had one of the better contexts going on, in that he was in hiding in order to protect the Haruka and the orphanage, which, if it happens once and is the kind of like end point of his character, is sort of fitting. It's the part where they keep redoing it every game that makes him feel like he's just trying to find excuses at this point to not be with his family. That's what's frustrating me. If it happens once, it's like it's the sacrifice he had to make, and that's sad, but the fact that the context keeps changing every game makes it weirder and like it's dumber. But the fact that he's out in hiding and then he hears that, like, in the middle of his journey, he hears on the radio that Majima has died, and he sees Dojima once as a passenger, and then Dojima goes missing. There's this element of like, oh, these are the most important people in his life, and he gets dragged back into the narrative as a result of that. That was one of the better excuses. It's been a bit of a struggle since. I was kind of vocal about it from the beginning, so it's not really a surprise, but yeah, I am frustrated by the idea that yes, like at the end of Yakuza 5, Haruka made what is probably the dumbest possible choice. It was just an incredibly bad decision that didn't necessarily even like correlate with her reasoning for doing it, like being closer to Kiryu and stuff like that. But then Kiryu and Haruka's actions at the beginning of this game, when they're doing the bridging the gap of the 3 years, are just insane. Like, they exist purely for it feels like they exist purely for the purpose of laying the tracks for Yakuza 6's plot to happen. And so the first like 5 chapters of this game feel like they're just characters kind of breaking and bending over backwards to enable what's going to happen. Like, that's why Kiryu goes to jail for 3 years, so that he has to be distant from Haruka. That's why Haruka leaves, makes a bunch of insane choices, despite the fact that being around Kiryu and being around the orphanage is supposed to be both of their motivations. it's like, oh, she's got to go up with Utah. She's got to have a kid. She's got to be like wrapped up in these various conspiracies and threat narratives, because that's the story they wrote for this game. And then she also has to be in a coma, because then she has to be a mystery and a secret and fridged and so on, which is frustrating, because it's like, okay, now she's out of the story despite being the core of the story, and she's just being used as a plot device. But also half the decisions that she made are confusing and become a thing where they almost don't have to make sense because they happened off camera and they're already happening, and just deal with it. I'm just like, what the fuck did Haruka do? Like, increasing, like, what did all of you characters do? And that's akin to, like, also the way that, like, here's Kiryu kidnapping a baby. Here's Kiryu going to this other specific location and like getting embroiled in this other, like, small town beach Yakuza family, just like in 3. Well, not seeming particularly interested in actually pursuing the mystery he's after, like, just the off-topicness of everything. It definitely feels like they wrote the big conspiracy and the big players and all the bad guys first, and then retroactively like, okay, how the fuck do we get Kiryu here? And even though that is their primary goal is to motivate that stuff, I feel like a lot of the actual stuff doesn't line up that well with Haruka and Kiryu, and it's just like, at this point, I think it's definitely like, okay, the series just needs to move on. It needs to move on from these characters, because they're not written in a way that's good for being the protagonist of this series, which is weird to say about the iconic protagonist of this series, right? Like, I feel like I sound a little bit insane. I think a little bit about, like, the struggles that I always hear about with Spider-Man Peter Parker, in that it's like, oh, there's always this will they won't they, will he marry Mary Jane, and then something crazy has to happen whenever that happens. Like, if I remember correctly, he basically made a deal with the devil at one point that like was there to, like, save Aunt May or undo some kind of evil or something. But, like, one of the stipulations was that it undoes his marriage with Mary Jane, because, like, the writers, when they tie him down with Mary Jane, struggle with, like, making Spider-Man work the way that they want him to. So they will do whatever they can to retcon it, essentially, and go back to him being not in that relationship. And I don't know, I'm not a comic pro, but, like, it feels like a little bit like that. Like, the choice to make Kiryu have an orphanage in Okinawa has long-term struggles for him being the kind of character you want him to be. And him being tied to always looking out for this little girl and protecting her also has struggles here. Like, you can definitely write those stories. There's no reason you can't write those stories. But if you want to make Yakuza continue to have the core location and setting that it has, continue to have the same core players, if you want to make it always be about the Yakuza the way they keep doing it, and you want it to always be this open world with these activities and this kind of character always going through them, him always being tied to this location and this narrative is tough, because it's so static. You inherently wrote a narrative where it's time for him to settle down and retire, and then he keeps getting pulled out of retirement every single game by increasingly contrived but also very similar circumstances, and there's, like, a repetition to that isn't that interesting to mine at some point. So I feel like this is, like, I guess if we go back to me joking, like, it's a metaphor for the series with the dying old man, and, like, this is kind of like the dying old man in the form of like, Kiryu's overall thing. Like, he was kept on life support for a little too long, and I don't think that what they were doing was very conducive to the franchise they wanted to have. And so this new guy, this zany dude that's like, I think he likes Dragon Quest or something in 7 and 8. I don't know his personality exactly, but I bet they wrote a new protagonist that's designed to carry the kind of franchise they have. And in a similar way, I have my issues with Judgment, particularly the way they handled just the very annoying progression of the open world and stuff. But in a lot of ways, the protagonist of Judgment very much feels like he's just, like, designed also to be a protagonist of this kind of thing. And there was also a PSP game at some point with another new protagonist that never went back to, I think. I think even as far back as that, they've been experimenting with, like, okay, what do we do to make a new protagonist? Because Kiryu is immediately saddled with Haruka, which is not bad narratively in other contexts, but in this very specific gameplay formula gives us struggles And I think they've been wanting to move on from that. But anyway, this has been Yakuza 6. They're neat games, even if I go on a rant at the beginning and end of every single one of them for narrative reasons. Yeah, I think that this would have been a more graceful franchise if they moved on to another protagonist and Kiryu's endpoint was essentially Yakuza 5. Probably get rid of Yakuza 4 also. I don't actually remember. I actually can't remember Kiryu's storyline in 4 very clearly anymore. It felt like an afterthought if I remember correctly. But his conclusion in 5 more or less seems to be like it makes sense. Becoming this taxi driver, living a new life, erasing his name, and becoming... I can't remember his name. Ah, damn it. I forgot his nickname. I remember it sometimes. His, like, assumed identity. Like him assuming an identity as a taxi driver and retiring and supporting his family from afar. That's where it went anyway. There was no reason to dig him up and do another storyline, then put him in the same endpoint over and over again. It's just, they clearly were spinning their wheels in the mud for a while there. But, oh well. I look forward to meeting new guy, and also maybe seeing what happens in Lost Judgment and so on, and I don't know. From here on out, I'll probably play them in chronological release order. Maybe, which I guess makes it be 7, then Lost Judgment, then Gaiden, then 8, or something? Or maybe I'll do 7 and 8. No, I gotta do Lost Judgment before 8 because Kiryu's back. Probably just release order. Maybe go back to the feudal Japan one too. Fuck, there's like 5. There's 5. I'm still behind by 5. Ah.